Private lives, the CDC, and cheek swabs. It's day 25 of the Sunny Balwani trial. So I'm going to give you the highlights, but before I get there, please do take a moment and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Please support my work by subscribing. Hit that like button, and please leave a comment. What's your analysis? And if you want to contribute and donate and support me making these videos, I'll leave a PayPal link in the description box below the video. Again, these videos for information and education, simply my opinion. Leave your analysis. What do you think about all this? That's why I created this channel. So let's get into it. What are the highlights of day 25 of the Sunny Balwani trial? Sunny Balwani is the co-defendant of Elizabeth Holmes. He faces the same 12 counts that she did, 6 relating to defrauding investors, 4 relating to defrauding patients, and those 2 conspiracy counts, 1 conspiring with Elizabeth Holmes to defraud investors, and the other count conspiring with Elizabeth Holmes to defraud patients. All right, so what happened today? Well, the jury was excused. One of the jurors apparently called in sick, wasn't able to make it to court, so the judge excused the jury for the day. Then the court got into, the judge and the counsel also got into some evidentiary issues. In other words, what evidence comes in and what evidence stays out. And that's where the CDC, cheek swabs, venous draws, people's private lives, all of that. So let me get into it. So the defense counsel wanted to exclude wanted to show the CDC guidelines relating to how HIV tests are run. And the reason they want to get into it is because I think the next witness is going to be patient ET, otherwise known as Erin Tompkins. She testified in the Elizabeth Holmes case that she got a positive HIV test, which turned out to be negative. And of course, the prosecution wants to bring that in to show that, once again, the technology, as they allege, wasn't working. And they Theranos gave Erin Tompkins a false test. They want to get into the fact that the test was false, came back positive when it wasn't supposed to, and that how that impacted Erin Tompkins. Well, the defense, like they did in the Holmes case, wants to show the jury the CDC guidelines, which would bring up possibly reasonable doubt, because according to the CDC guidelines, that positive HIV test was actually false. Therefore, they could argue reasonable doubt, and that goes to count 10. I'm looking at the indictment. Count 10, which relates to that false positive HIV test that patient Erin Tompkins got. So I don't know, do you think that raises reasonable doubt if they can get in the CDC guidelines? So they also wanted to point out that the patient, Erin Tompkins' 2021 HIV test, which came back negative, should be excluded. And the reason the defense is arguing that the test should be excluded is because it was done by a cheek swab or a mouth swab test, where the Theranos relating to count 10, that blood result was a venous draw. That HIV test was a venous draw, where the 2021 negative HIV test was a mouth swab or a cheek swab. And I think what they're arguing is apples to oranges. In other words, the subsequent negative HIV test should be excluded because it wasn't done by the same method. It was a cheek swab and not a venous draw. So the judge ruled that, yes, the prosecution can bring in the 2021 mouth swab or cheek swab test, and that does come in. That's admissible. So the jury's going to hear about that. They argued that if, the prosecution also argued, that the test should come in, the negative HIV test should come in, and it goes to weight, not admissibility. So what they're arguing there, the prosecution is arguing that the jury should be allowed to consider it, which the judge is allowing them to consider the subsequent negative HIV test, but it goes to the weight of it. So the jury can decide whether or not they care about the methodology, I assume. I think that's what they're arguing. But anyway, it's going to come in. So not only is the false HIV test, false positive HIV test that Erin Tompkins got from Theranos, but also her subsequent negative HIV test. The jury's going to hear about that. All right. So the defense counsel also wanted to exclude or bar the government from asking the patient, Erin Tompkins, if she had any reason to believe she would have HIV. In the Holmes trial, she was asked that question, and she answered no. And the defense doesn't want to have to get into the private lives or partners of Erin Tompkins in cross-examination. The prosecutors argued that the question was actually whether the patient had any reason to believe that she would have HIV antibodies when she saw that she got a positive HIV test from Theranos. She responded no. The judge subsequently ruled, as I mentioned, that the government can ask the question, but any follow-up by the defense would be on thin ice. So in other words, the judge doesn't want the defense to get into this patient's private lives or her partner on cross-examination. And the judge is, again, allowing the government to admit her subsequent HIV negative test results. So we'll see what happens tomorrow when the case resumes. But the judge, I think, is not happy, I think, that they lost a trial day today. And the prosecutor, apparently, it's being reported, wanted to just exclude that sick juror and have that juror replaced with an alternate, because they do have several alternates that are available. But the defense, sounds like the defense objected, and they decided just to excuse the jury for the day. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. That's my highlights. And we'll see whether or not that CDC guideline, matters. If you recall, in the Holmes case, Elizabeth Holmes wasn't convicted on any of these patient counts. And 3 of them specifically relate to particular patients who got false tests, either a false HIV positive test, a false prostate cancer test, and then patient BB had also issues with his lab results. So those are 3 patient witnesses I assume that the prosecution is going to put on probably tomorrow, and they'll probably rest at the end of this week, and then it's the defense's case, and we'll see what kind of case the defense puts on. So thank you for watching. Please do support my work by subscribing. Hit that like button, hit the bell notification button so you can get the next video I do on the Balwani case. And also, please do leave a comment. What's your analysis on this? Do you think the jury is going to convict Balwani on any of these patient counts? They didn't convict Holmes on any of them. So we'll see what happens. So again, if you want to donate and support me making these videos, I'll put a PayPal link in the description box below the video. Please do share these videos. Please do leave a comment. And thanks again for watching.